Hello friends, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome for our first edition of our new little series on the channel to do a bunch of fun mood boarding to give you guys inspiration for new island themes to maybe try out or just look at a bunch of items and pretty mood boards. I don't know. But today we are starting with a really fun theme. You can probably guess by our little backdrop here, as well as the title and thumbnail of the video, but we are doing space themed. I'm so excited. In a recent video, I said I was really inspired to do a space-themed island, so I figured we might as well start with a space-themed mood board. So yeah, super excited, so let's just jump into it and go over to Canva. Like I said in the intro, we will be using Canva for our mood board. This is the application I always use for my mood boarding and actually all of my thumbnails. So I do have the premium version, but this can definitely be done on a free version of Canva too. But like I said, we will be making a mood board. I also want to go over a couple villager lineup options, some code ideas, a few build ideas, some other fun, wacky ideas for the island, and of course, name ideas. First on our list to go over is a bunch of villager options, and I did make two full 10 villager options. The first option being this top one, and as you can see, it's very blue themed, and I thought a blue themed space island would just be perfect because the sky's kind of blue, galaxies are a little blue, and I just thought there's so many cute blue villagers that this was perfect. And as you can see, I did pick a couple like whimsical villagers, and of course we needed to have Ione on the island. She is like the stereotypical space girl. She has a galaxy tail, she's wearing a little astro outfit. She is perfect for a space themed island. I feel like if you don't have her on a space themed island, it's kind of a crime. I also went with another like magical themed villager for this lineup, and that is Julian. I know he's kind of like fairy core, but I also feel like he would fit for a space themed island because you kind of have like that whimsical magical feel on a space themed island, and I feel like a unicorn is perfect for that. And then we also have some robot villagers because I think on a space themed island you can also have a lot of technology. You can have robot building stations, you have all the spaceships and everything, so having a cephalobot and ribot would be perfect. I also picked those two specifically because they are silver, which is like kind of similar to blue, but I wanted to go with these ones because they're more of like that normal metal color. I was thinking of including Sprocket, but he's green, so he didn't really fit. So instead, I just went with these two silver robots, and I think they're so cute. But yeah, we have Sprinkle, Whitney, Ribot, Cephalobot, Sherb, Pierce, Julian, Sky, Bluebear, and Ione for option number 1. And then for option number 2, I went with more of a galaxy themed color scheme for this one. We of course have our two little magical villagers too because I feel like they're just perfect, so I included them in this one as well. And then a couple other galaxy feeling ones. I included Judy because her color scheme is like perfect cotton candy galaxy. Her eyes have stars in them and kind of look like you're looking into a galaxy, so I thought she was perfect. And Diana has this little swirl on her head that kind of looks like a galaxy to me, and her color scheme is like that purple, pink, blue, so she's really perfect as well. And then another villager I wanted to point out was Diva. I feel like she would be perfect for a space themed island. I feel like in space they would definitely wear white lipstick, so I feel like she's super fitting. I know not a lot of people love her, but I love her. I had her on my first ever completed island and she was perfect there, and I think she'd be perfect for a space themed island. So yeah, for option number 2 we have Diva, Megan, Gale, Freya, Flurry, Diana, Judy, Sherb, Julian, and Ione. Let me know down in the comments which villager lineup you like the best, or which villager would you expect to see on a space themed island that I didn't include in these lineups. Up next on our list are a bunch of code ideas. So the first option kind of being in that galaxy theme, we have this little galaxy code, which is just like a Milky Way or like a condensed little galaxy. So if you had a full island and then just had a little space area or like a little like sunken in area, I feel like you could add this code and maybe add some nova lights or drop star fragments, and it would look like a real little galaxy. And then on that same kind of idea, we have these 3 sets of codes. These are kind of like paths that look like a winding galaxy or a starry night. So instead of having like a full island that's covered in coating, maybe you have some pathways to follow. We have this dark one that looks like a night sky, this one that's more of like a nebula, purple and blue themed, and then this one over here is almost like a water code, but it also has stars in it, and it's just like a really nice shade of blue. And you can see here it's paired with a nova light, and I think this is really cool for like a night sky kind of look. Another signature space theme code that I feel like everyone's seen already is this moon code. I did use it in the intro of this video, and I've actually used it on an island before in a little moon themed golfing area. I used this code as like the green area that you would like do putt-putt golfing on, and it turned out really cool. But I've also seen people cover like their entire island in this code, so it looks like the surface of the moon, which is so cool. It turns out so well. But yeah, there's a couple other like planet type codes that you could use. I know Tortuga Chronicles on Instagram made like a red kind of rocky planet terrain kind of code and covered most of her island in that code, and it looks really cool. So if you're doing like a moon area, this code is definitely one that you'll want to grab. In space, I also think you can include a lot of the zodiac items and zodiac codes. So these two options, we have like a little zodiac circle over here, and then another kind of option here with a bunch of like starry codes around it. I think this tied in with the zodiac items or the items you get from Celeste would be perfect because they're star signs, right? So they're like in the sky. So zodiac and space themed can work so well together. Another option for a space themed island is kind of including a very tech forward or cyberpunk kind of city. So we have these black codes with like neon lighting around them. You can also have a full road code for like a city look. So I really like this look that's very cyberpunk in my head. We also have these like glowing tiles over here. I think this would be perfect for a nighttime island. It's very dark, but you also get that glow from the codes, and you can also use the floor lighting in a bunch of glowing items. Like here they use the palm tree lamp, but imagine like frozen items and all the glowing nova lights and everything. You have a perfect cyberpunk kind of space themed island. And then down in this bottom code, they're using a rock code that looks similar to the rocks that you find on the island, and they made this like rocky terrain using a bunch of like asteroids, tall garden rocks. They also used the glowing moss pond, which is really cool. So if you wanted a very rocky terrain planet, I think this code would work perfectly for you. And then on the opposite side of that, we also have this white code over here. So you could have a very monochromatic island where you're using it in the winter. You also have a white code. You can use the white nova lights, the white crescent chair, and go for a very white themed space island. But yeah, these are a bunch of ideas. I will have my Pinterest in the description box where you can find all of these codes on that list. Up next on our board is a bunch of build ideas. So I have a couple reference pictures for some of these builds, but I also made a list of 10 different builds that you could actually build on a space theme island if you decide to create one and you're running out of ideas of what to build. So the first one on our list is an observatory, and I think this is perfect for a space themed island, and I actually really wish they gave us an observatory with Celeste on our island, maybe including it in the museum. But since we don't have one, you can definitely build one on your island. And we have two pictures over here that kind of give me observatory vibes, using the gazebo to have that dome shape, the stereotypical observatory that you would think of, having that round top. But you could use a bunch of like different telescopes. You could have the space command like center console with the chairs, a bunch of the nova lights, and other celestial type of items. I think this is perfect for a space themed island. Up next, we have an alien encounter, and I think you can make a really cute alien encounter using a bunch of fun codes that make it look like they've done crop circles on your island. There are some really cool pictures if you go on Pinterest of those type of codes. I think it's also perfect if you use the flying saucer item mixed with the little gyroids to make it look like those are little aliens coming down from the UFO. But the UFO is actually interactive, so if you touch the flying saucer, it actually sends down a little beam and you can see a little alien there. So even if you don't want to use gyroids, you can still have a little alien pop up if you're using the flying saucer item. And you can't have a space themed island if you don't have a space station. I'm imagining a big interactive fake building kind of situation where you can use again those spaceship command centers. You can use a lot of the robot items, the gears to make it look very interactive, and like there's a lot of tech stuff going on. There's a bunch of spaceship items that you can also include. There's one that's like a standing upright one where it looks like people are getting onto the spaceship, or there's one that lays on the ground. I think both of those would be perfect for this build as well. Another fun build for this island that I thought of was an astral garden. I've seen so many space movies, and there's always a part in the movie where they're trying to grow some type of crop on the moon or a different type of planet to see if they could survive on that planet. So I think if you make a little garden or a little farm on your island, that would be so perfect to tie in that kind of theme from those movies. I think in the one movie they were trying to grow potatoes, so you could definitely use the potato crop and a little farm on your island. I kind of touched on this idea when we were talking about the codes, but you could make a build that looks like the surface of the moon or a surface of a different planet. So covering the ground with a fun code, either that moon code I showed you or the one that Orally posted, which was like the red planet terrain. Those would be really cool. You could use a mix of nova lights or drop star fragments and make it look like the stars have come down to the planet. And I think a bunch of fun items like the garden rocks or even some of like the glowing items would look really cool on the surface of the moon. This next one I think would be perfect if you have a half like Earth island and a half planet island. You could have a little section where you do some stargazing using the telescope and maybe a cute little picnic. It will kind of look like you're on the Earth side of the planet and you're looking up at the planet side of your island, which I thought was really cute if you could tie in both of those types of half and half island into one little build. This next one I hinted at again when we were doing our code walkthrough, and you can kind of see it in this reference picture down here, but you could do like a galaxy pathway having a bunch of rocks or glowing moss items around and just making it look like you're walking on the surface of a galaxy. Up next we have a rock garden. I think using a lot of the rock items is perfect for a space themed island, especially if you're doing a planet or a moon themed island, and having a rock garden is perfect. I do have a picture in the next slide that I can show that is perfect for a rock garden. It's made in a little swirl so it kind of looks like a galaxy or something just celestial, so play around with the types of shapes that you can make with your rock gardens. Number 9 is a space themed temple or ruins. I think using a lot of the castle items or the ruined items, you can make really cool temples that maybe it looks like the aliens come and do their little prayers at the temples, or maybe it's a planet that's been abandoned and now all of the buildings that were on that planet are now ruined. So you can make a bunch of fun like lore or stories about your island with just a few simple builds. And last but not least is a space city. Again, this would be like having the roads on your city. You can use those neon lights, or you can use a more simple kind of dark or light road code like you see up in the top of this page over here, where they're like building the spaceships or the lunar rovers and everything. Or you can have fun little like pastel or neon villagers that live on a space city. I think that would be so cute. But these are some ideas that I had for you for builds for a space themed island. If you have any other fun ideas, make sure to leave them down in the comments so other people can see them. And then next up on our list are a bunch of other fun ideas. So these are anything else that I could think of that we could fit on this island that didn't really fit the other genres that we had. First up, I think a space theme island would be perfect at nighttime, especially if you have all of those glowing items. You can really see them glow at nighttime. When it's daytime and the sun is out, those items kind of just look like items, but at nighttime you can really see them give off a light, which is super fun, especially for the star items, because it looks like they're actually glowing in the night. Number 2 on this list is to have your island in winter, so it's snowing. This is especially cool if you're doing a moon themed item and you're using that code, because the trees, if you use them on your island, will be covered in snow and the ground is actually white, so it doesn't stand out as much if you're using like a white code on white ground kind of deal. But I think having it in winter is perfect, and that's what I did in the intro of this video. Number 3 and number 4 have to do with terraforming, so I think moon crater terraforming is really interesting. You can see in this slide we have a little bit of a swirly design with a moon in the center of that, so something cool and celestial or galaxy vibes kind of terraforming, or even just the craters like big holes in like second or third level cliffs can be really interesting with how you decorate them using a bunch of fun items in the center. And then for our crazy terraforming, I have a couple pictures on this slide, but you can do some really crazy terraforming, making moons and stars aliens, spaceships, Saturn with the rings. You can do this with just the cliff terraforming, or you can do it with some water terraforming mixed in, and also just really fun land bridges. Even if it's not like a fun like shape, you can just do a land bridge and have it overlooking a really cool area like this bottom picture where you have a long land bridge and you see a bunch of stars on the sides. And then last but not least, before we get into the actual mood boarding, I just wanted to share some island names I came up with. So I have a list of 10 to share with you, and I'm just going to run through the list. So we have Cosmo, Cosmic, Astro, Starlit, Stardust, Eclipse, Aurora, Nebula, Nova, and Orbit. I did keep all of these to like the one word kind of island names because that's mainly what I vibe with, but my favorite on this list is Nebula. I think that is such a cool name for an island. Now it's time to get into the actual mood boarding. So the first thing I always do is add the name of the island, and like I said, Nebula was my favorite, so that's the one I went with for this mood board. And then I like to add a backdrop or background, so I just picked one from our mood boarding, and then I'm gonna blur it so it's not too distracting in the background. It's just a nice like color kind of in the background. And then I like to add like a paint splatter or some type of design behind the name of the island just so it sticks out a little bit and it's kind of like the main focus. So this time I went with like this little techie hard drive kind of looking backdrop. I don't know how to explain it, but it just like reminds me of space a little bit. And then here I'm messing around with kind of effects of the actual font for Nebula, but I just stuck with this like subtle blur. And then next it's time to add our villagers. So for this mood board, I'm going with the very blue lineup with the robot villagers. So all villagers are going to be blue or silver. And then that's going to be like the theme of the mood board. So lots of blues, whites, blacks, silvers, for like the whole mood board, and like little pops of yellow. And then I like to add little photos into the mood board just to give an idea of kind of like the vibe that I would go for on the actual island. So again, I just picked two from our little section down below where I was talking about different builds. I went with like the observatory and then the one with the little rocks. And now I'm using Nookipedia to get some items, and the first ones that I'm going with are kind of like sciencey or techie. So I went with the space pod or like the science pod, and then also the sleeping pod because it's such a good item for this theme. And then the space control center because I imagine having like a space station like I said, and that whole area can be filled with those. And of course, for a space theme island, we do need an astronaut, so I grabbed one of those. I also imagine that our character, like in the beginning of this video, would be wearing the space suit and helmet and all of that good stuff. And I'm grabbing other like normal space station things, so I grabbed the space shuttle, and then I think this is called like the crewed spaceship. I wanted to get the rocket, but it kept giving me pictures of the villager rocket, so yeah, I didn't include that. But I did grab the flying saucer that I could not find for the longest time because I kept searching for UFO and it was not popping up. And then we got this little lunar rover thing and the throwback rocket because it actually did come in a blue version, so I definitely wanted to add that. And then another item that we grabbed was the satellite, and it is also blue, so it fits the island, and it's like in this like nice angle, so it fit in this crevice very nicely. And then for some like celestial items, I grabbed the crescent moon chair, and this item is really nice because it does come in multiple colors, so depending on what color island you're doing, you can grab different variants. Same thing with the Nova light and the Nova clock. I grabbed both of those, and I grabbed it in the white version and the blue version because that's just what matches our island, but you could definitely pick like a pink one or an orange one. And then of course I had to grab the moon because maybe we do like a moon themed island. And then to go with the Nova clock and the Nova light, I did grab some of the star fragments. So I grabbed the normal one, which is yellow, the large fragment, which is white. And the nice thing about the star fragments is that you can grab a bunch of different ones in different colors like I said, but again we went with white and yellow. And then I'm grabbing a bunch of the rock items. So I grabbed the asteroid and now I'm grabbing the garden rocks because again, I feel like a space island would be very rocky terrain and we have a lot of amazing rock items. So again, I grabbed the asteroid, the garden rock, the flat garden rock, and then the tall garden rock. And those items reminded me of some more natural items that we could bring onto like a space themed island. And one that I really loved in my little entrance build that I made was the white decay tree. It comes in a lot of colors, but I never really see the white one being used. And this is the perfect island for that. And then also I grabbed a mush lamp in the blue variant because it matches our island. And then moving on to glowing moss items, I just grabbed the actual glowing moss. Especially for winter islands, I think it would be really cool because it does turn to a nice pale white color, so it would match like the snow and everything and would look really good on a space island. And then I grabbed the glowing moss boulder and the glowing moss pond for this, and they again come in really cool colors, so you can do the black, white, or blue for this island, but again, lots of colors to pick from depending on your actual island. And then in the little mood board section earlier when we were talking about different themes, I was talking about a little ruined area, so I did want to grab some of the ruined items. This one I went for the white version with the green vines because it fit our island that we're mood boarding for the best, but I also think it would be pretty cool to do the black ones, but I did grab the white ones for this. And then some more glowing items. The frozen partition is a really good item and looks really cool at night, and again comes in a lot of fun colors. I just grabbed the light blue white version, and then I thought of the telescope, so I grabbed that. And like I said, we needed to have our little aliens, so I grabbed a bunch of gyroids. Luckily on Nookipedia, they have a whole page just for gyroids, so I kind of just went down the list and grabbed a few that I thought fit the island. So the first one was the Illuminoid, and it came in this nice silver color. The next one was, I think, the Tacoid or Dutoid. I think it's a Dutoid. And then this little blue guy is the Laseroid, I think, which is perfect for a space island because I feel like in space you have a lot of like lasers and stuff, so it really fit. And then this guy, I don't remember his name, but he is perfect because he looks like a little alien with his little wavy arms and weird eyes. And this other one I'm placing right now next to Sherb. I actually think Bela used on her island for her little alien area, so that's another perfect one for a space island. And then just a couple more items that I wanted to fill spaces with. I grabbed the stadium lights, and then another natural object, I grabbed the little mush partition, and I just grabbed it in white for this one, but there's another fun colors on this item too. And here is our final mood board. I think it came out so cute. I love all the villagers that we have over here, the couple pictures of inspiration that we took, and then all of the items I just feel like really go together, and this would make me very excited to create a space themed island. If you decide to make your own mood board or you decide to do a space themed island after this video, definitely let me know down in the comments, but that's going to be the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching. Before you leave, make sure you give the video a like, comment, and to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye friends!